All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk to you about two Bitcoin mining companies, both of which seem to be in big trouble, one of which has already filed for bankruptcy. So first, we're going to talk about Celcius, which has filed for bankruptcy, and then we're going to talk about how that has basically infected another publicly traded company, and they have had to take some drastic measures, and we're going to see whether or not they may be headed for trouble, or if they can manage their way through this situation. So we cover Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners all the time on this channel. If that's content that you're interested in, please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Also, I would really appreciate it if everybody would smash the like button. It helps the channel out a lot, and it gets this video out to more people. So I really appreciate it. Celcius, believe it or not, actually has a major Bitcoin mining operation. So many of you may know Celcius because they were one of the early exchanges to become illiquid. They froze all of their customers' funds. They have 1.7 million retail customers. So that is the much bigger story with Celcius. So buried in all of that was the fact that they actually had one of the largest Bitcoin mining companies, which was Celcius Mining LLC. Celcius Mining LLC has now filed for bankruptcy as well. So I want to go through what's happened to them because they are a major player, and that's going to have ripple effects throughout the industry. But I also want to talk about one specific Bitcoin miner that they do a lot of business with that it looks like this has been very damaging to their business. So that company is Mawson, stock ticker MIGI. We'll get to them in a minute. And I first want to show you what happened with Celcius so that you can understand where that leaves Mawson. Bitcoin miner woes risk getting worse after Celcius collapse. This was put out by Bloomberg on Friday. An already beleaguered cryptocurrency mining sector could soon be facing some additional pressure from the Celcius network bankruptcy filing. The troubled cryptocurrency lender's mining subsidiary also filed for protection from creditors late Wednesday. Celcius Mining said in the filing that it owned 80,850 rigs, with 43,632 in operations, and expected to run about 120,000 rigs and generate more than 10,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. So that puts them as actually one of the very largest Bitcoin miners in North America. That does not make them the largest, but they are amongst, the top 5 largest with those type of numbers. They then say the Jersey City, New Jersey-based firm had been touting the unit as an attractive strategic asset. Celcius invested about $500 million in Celcius Mining and even prepared it for an initial public offering in May. So just a month and a half ago, there was news that they were going to do an IPO for Celcius Mining, spin that off on its own and raise money there. So obviously things quickly deteriorated from that. They hired Mawson to host a lot of the rest of their rigs. This is where the Celcius situation continues to infect the industry. Mawson, which was relying heavily on this, Celcius being by far their largest hosting customer, is now in a situation where they find themselves having a liquidity problem. It seems Celcius is aiming to continue at least part of their Celcius mining operations following the restructuring as a means to generate Bitcoin rewards and pay down some of their outstanding liabilities. So they hope to salvage something here so that if and when Bitcoin goes up in price, they may make some profit and be able to give some of their retail customers some of their money back. So that's the part of the Celcius story. So while none of you are directly invested in Celcius mining, what has happened is, like the cryptocurrency exchange side of this business, the cryptocurrency mining side of this business is infecting other businesses, and most specifically Mawson. So I want to take a look at Mawson and see what they're doing. They did a press release today that kind of puts things into perspective. So I want to go through their overall situation, talk about their press release today, and talk about their overall liquidity, because it looks like to me Mawson is struggling greatly, and obviously this situation is not helping at all. So let's take a look at Mawson, and then let's look at what they did today, because it was a fairly drastic measure in my opinion. Okay, I'm going to start off by just looking. Mawson Infrastructure Group, stock ticker MIGI, they're trading at 89 cents right now. So they're down 11.5%. We're in the middle of the trading day. They were down well over 20% earlier in the trading day. However, this is a massively up day in Bitcoin, so a lot of these Bitcoin miners are up 15 or 20% today. So as a result, Mawson's down 11.5%. It probably likely would would have been much worse than that if it was not for the fact that today was such a green day in Bitcoin. You'll see their market cap is $64 million. So that's just a very small fraction of what their market cap was just 6 or 7 months ago. Okay, so you see in November of 2021, about 8 months ago, this is when Bitcoin hit its all-time high. Mawson's market cap was $850 million. Fast forward 8 months and it's now $64 million. At such a small market cap, it gets harder and harder to raise equity. Okay, so first I'm going to go to a press release on April 19th where they talk about the relationship with Celcius. Hosting co-location update. They say right here in this bullet point, in March, new 100 megawatt hosting co-location agreement signed with Celcius Mining LLC. First deployment at Mawson's hosting facilities has commenced. So 100 megawatts represents a significant amount of their business. Obviously, Celcius having filed Chapter 11, everything is on hold over there. So what happens to Mawson, who's in the middle of building a gigantic facility for these guys and probably are not really getting paid in this restructuring period while Celcius is under Chapter 11? Mawson's hosting co-location deployment and agreements with Celcius Mining LLC continue to perform as expected. Just 3 weeks ago, they did not think that this was going to have an impact on them. Things were still business as usual as far as they were concerned. At least that's what they were reporting. So unfortunately, in that 3 weeks that have elapsed, this situation has changed dramatically. So that has led to them having to take this action. This press release came out this morning, July 18th. Mawson Infrastructure Group announces $6.4 million registered direct offering. Mawson has entered into a definitive agreement with an institutional investor for the issuance and sale of 8 million shares of its common stock. Now, they have about 77 million shares outstanding, so issuing 8 million shares, that is more than a 10% dilution of their company in exchange for just $6.4 million. Now, obviously, they needed the $6.4 million, or they would not have done this dilution. And it further goes on to say that they did the offering at a price of 80 cents. Now, they closed at $1.01 on Friday, which was their all-time low stock price. So they then had to offer a 20% discount on top of that to do a 10% dilution of their company. It could be a good deal to the extent that it keeps them alive and keeps them afloat and helps them turn the corner and go on as a company. But in general, to do a 10% stock dilution at 20% below your all-time low stock price is not what your shareholders are looking for. They're going to get $6.4 million in cash for this, and they say Mawson intends to use the net proceeds from this offering to continue to build out its digital infrastructure for potential strategic transactions and also for general corporate purposes, including working capital. So I have to believe that the vast majority of this is for working capital. Maybe they have some other plan to potentially acquire some of Celcius mining machines. So this could inject some liquidity to make that happen, because remember, Celcius has a lot of their machines being hosted by Mawson, and now Celcius may be in a position where they have to sell some or all of those machines. This is Mawson's balance sheet from March 31st. That's their most recent quarter end. So their total current assets were $12.8 million. Their total current liabilities were $31.4 million. So this is one of the worst ratios out of all the publicly traded Bitcoin miners in North America. Many Bitcoin miners have extremely strong balance sheets. They have a 20-to-1 positive ratio of current assets to current liabilities, or a 15-to-1 or 10-to-1. This is almost a 1-to-3 ratio. So that means essentially even before all this happened, they were running into massive liquidity problems. Now they've had to raise money at their all-time low stock price. And the other thing is they have these receivables, which most likely are due from their hosting customers. So, if they had a big outstanding balance receivable from Celcius, it's not likely that they're going to get that. However, they did say that their agreement with Celcius was cost plus and that it was very secure. So it's potential they have some right of offset on these to help make them whole for their lost revenue. So let's quickly take a look at the chart and just see what all of this means. Okay, I'm going to start zoomed out on the 1 week chart because I want to show you that from their high in August of 2021 until their low right now in July of 2022. So that's 11 months. This company's down almost 95%, the stock price of this company. So, that's a catastrophic fall in their stock price, and it has continued to accelerate. Obviously, today today being another bad day, setting a new all-time low. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit to get a better picture. Okay, so this is on the daily time frame. So you can see there was a massive gap at the open downwards. They got as low as 76 cents today. And remember, they did this offering at 80 cents. So it would make sense that they would settle somewhere in that neighborhood. However, like I said, today is a massive green day for all the Bitcoin miners. So they're benefiting a little from that. So Mawson is down 84%. So over the weekend, I had a schedule where we looked at the performance of all the Bitcoin miners over the last 30 days. A lot of the Bitcoin miners were up over the last 30 days. Some of them were up 20 or 30 or 40%. Mawson was in very last place. It was the worst performing Bitcoin miner over the last 30 days. It was already down 40% prior to what's happening today. So it seems to me like we don't know what the extent is, but there's clearly some liquidity problem here at Mawson. Some of which is that they are a casualty of the Celcius situation, which continues to spread throughout the cryptocurrency world. And it looked like they already were having liquidity problems prior to that. They are by far the worst performing publicly traded Bitcoin mining stock out of all the stocks traded in North America and all the stocks traded on the NASDAQ. So with that in mind, please remember, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy this stock or sell this stock. What I am telling you is they're down 95% off of their highs, 84% in the last 3.5 months, and they seem to be having a liquidity problem that I'm not sure they're going to be able to solve. So we will stay tuned. I'll check in if there's any other updates on this or they give us any other clarity. Mawson did not put out their monthly update this month for the first time this year. So it looks like they're trying to figure out internally exactly where they're at before they give a press release updating their monthly performance. So that's all I've got for you on the Mawson and Celcius situation. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel and smash the like button. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.